what the heck is a noble truth? No. They say when we start off on YouTube, like have it equal to the title, and our title is going to be the Four Noble Truths.
Oh, right. I saw
What the
that.
heck are
Yeah.
they talking about? What is a noble truth, and what makes it so noble anyway? Hello, everybody. I am Denise Smith. This is Our Metaverse. Our Metaverse, spelled with two T's, is a community that's coming together through loving kindness to share our common humanity. So frequently we think that we are the only person that feels something, and in this community we realize how much we actually really do share. Tonight we're going to be talking about some Buddhist ideas. Go figure. I want to make it super clear that this is not a Buddhist class. It doesn't need to be labeled at all, actually, other than that we're sharing what we all share in common, and that we're here to experience together and be present with each other, as some ideas that I've learned in mindful meditation teacher training cause what I have experienced to be more happiness. And the intention behind much of the teachings is just that. It's said that happiness is our birthright. But for some reason, we have this natural default to otherwise. And so we're just kind of talking about it, right? Some of the subjects that we bring up aren't necessarily all the time joy, total wonder, and yay, right? The subjects tend to have this kind of dreary title or kind of downer feeling sometimes. And I'd like us to think of it where if we could come up with any subject and it was just a subject, we would be close to what Buddhism calls the middle way, where it's not something that we totally go towards and it's not something that we just go against. It's just there. It just is. And a lot of the ideas that are in these universal teachings, that's Lama Yeshe calls these universal teachings, and Karuna is a teacher of universal education. And that is that they apply to absolutely everyone, no matter their age, no matter any kind of gender or ethnicity or anything. So I am a huge, huge fan of universality in that means, in that manner. Like we all have so much in common. And if we brought more attention to understanding that, I think we would have an easier time expressing compassion for each other and knowing that we can take care of the other because we understand them, rather than seeing them as so different than us. So we'll set some intention and motivation later on while we do a meditation, but let's do one now too, just really quickly, is to just stop and kind of arrive here after our days. I had kind of a busy day today, and so we just take a moment to just try to mentally and physically arrive here now. And then set an intention, which is what we'll do, which can simply be, I will be in this class and be attentive and try to be a good part of it, or anything else. What will I do with a motivation of why will I do it? Okay, just take a second. And you can hold that. You can just hold that to yourself and kind of be aware of when I set an intention of something I'll do, and I put this reason why behind it, what does that do? What does it feel like to me when I start off with that. Just give that a little bit of your awareness for right now. I want to express a huge, huge gratitude to all of you who are here now, who might be watching later. This community really feeds me. It feels so beautiful to be with you all and to share so much and to discuss together about life and to be able to talk about any subject together and know that we've got a place where we can. And so thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate you. I'd like to do some check-ins tonight. Check-ins again. We haven't done them in a little while, or where we kind of share what we're bringing with us to this moment that we might be trying to just let go of to really be present with each other, or something that's on our mind or that's been going on recently. They are not necessarily something that gets feedback from anybody else. It's just a share from our side to put out there what our experience has been lately. And we can take 1 or 2 minutes for that each. And if anybody would like to start, please do. Aga, you want to start?
Sure, yeah. So my recent experience is that I'm back in Poland and I've been actually enjoying my time here because my parents left for Spain for 2 weeks. So I'm taking care of the house and my cat, and I'm pretty much enjoying just every single day inviting my friends over. So, my social life is going pretty well. And for that reason, I guess I'm having fun right now. They're coming back on Thursday, so I guess it will end. But I guess I've been I didn't have any specific thoughts, and it's just like it feels relaxing. I'm not really like worried about anything right now. I'm just like taking, every day and just doing what I have to do in a day and then enjoying and working out. So it's, yeah, I'm actually not really, anxious or anything. So that's fun.
Nice.
So yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you for being with us all the way from Poland. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Wendy. I'll go. See her pointing at me. I know, wherever you are on the screen. So overall, I'm doing great. It's been really nice this last week because Gabby and Owen are both out of the country, and we've just had some really amazing downtime, and I feel like it's what I needed. And I'm really trying to just slow down and watch the little things. Like we went out and watched it rain the other day, and just, taking some time just to kind of regroup because this last month has been crazy. But today was a heavy day, and I had a client that came in shopping with us, and when she was there shopping, she got a phone call that her best friend was killed in a car accident.
Oh my gosh.
And it just, yeah, like she was in the store and she just burst into tears, and I just held her, and it was very heavy. And Wesley was sick and I had to take him to the vet. And so there were just some heavy things today. So I just wanted to be on. I'm really like on the way home. I was like, I'm not going to call anyone. It's usually I call my mom or Stacy or, I'm like, I'm not going to call anyone. I'm just going to release it. No, it's not like I guess my lesson in life is is how to be there for someone, but not take it in as mine. So I was trying to say, like, I can show her compassion and show her love, but not bring it into my being, because boy, did that was like, I didn't even know this person and it just was heavy, really heavy. So that's what I'm bringing today. And I wanted to share that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. May her friend and her family, and your client's family, may they find peace and support while grieving.
Right. But in general, I'm doing good.
Kev, Stace?
Yeah, so I have my mind is preoccupied right now with a very busy week that I have ahead of me. Because I'm trying to get away this weekend and not have any work responsibilities. So my mind is kind of racing in all directions right now, and I'm not completely present. But I'm trying to get there. That's all I got.
Raise your
You're
hand
here.
if you're not completely present right now.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I mean, I think kind of all the time.
Just wanted you to join
Right,
join the group.
Feel very comfortable.
How about you, Stace?
Nothing much to report. I did a little treatment today. When you probably know the IPL treatment, where they just
Oh,
zap
yes.
they zap you over and over and over with this crazy red light that made me flinch like 45 times. And so I'm feeling a little fragile right now, but whatever. It's I'll forget about it tomorrow. But and I'm getting excited because I'm going to get Cole, our younger one, from college later this week.
Yay.
So it's a short work week and home week.
Nice.
Great.
Yeah.
Nice. Guess what I'm bringing? Had an opportunity to join my husband and son at my son's baseball tournament this weekend, which happened to be in Half Moon Bay at the beach.
Oh, nice.
Great.
Stockton is
Finally, like a destination. You're like, yes, I can go to that one. And had a nice long walk on the beach with my husband, and spent some time on the beach with everybody afterwards. And the weather was perfect. And worked this weekend, Sunday. Just got off work at 5:30 now, and getting a little bit excited about the here goes the plug videos for our metaverse that are getting onto YouTube / our metaverse. It's been taking a long time though, so to get that work balance with this again, in all honesty, there's like a little fear in it, because this is such a haven for emotions for me, that when I put myself back out into a place that I know is very hard emotionally, which is trying to help people with their life savings make their biggest asset purchase or sale, gets a little bit emotional. We carry a lot with it, and just hoping I can titrate, we call it, go back and forth between work and this for sanity, work and this, work and this. So I'm kind of bringing that tonight. Thank you. So I was talking with Sandra last week. I think we talked about that a little bit. And Sandra was saying, let's try to do this in some organized way where we know we've been through that, and we've got that lesson down. It's interesting when we have the freedom to go towards what we are attracted to with regards to compassion studying. there isn't an exact road to it. We say, I would like to learn more about mind-body connection, and we look up that studying online somehow, or a group we can join or something, and we take ourselves through more mind-body connection. Or we, ask ourselves, maybe it's just really being present that I want to focus on. And we can take ourselves into the directions that we feel we need. That being said, I want to invite everybody to explore every part of this in the direction that you feel you need. And if you say, I really want to know more about X subject, great. I will do everything I can to bring it to us in a way that we can all share. If it's something that I can have knowledge of myself, or bring a teacher that knows more into this with us. We still haven't met a few of the teachers from Our Mettaverse yet. I'm excited to bring on some of them that have collaborated in this project with me that we haven't met yet, and they'll be neat. And also to experience ourselves becoming the teacher. Wendy, you did that so absolutely beautifully as a first start for us. And as we get into something that we're very passionate about, or we want to learn more about, then I absolutely invite you to become the facilitator. Hang on. I'm speaking of that, I'm texting Rachel real quick. But I invite you to become the facilitator when you're ready, and I can carry with you and help you and support you, or have you do it as you wish. But I think that we all have so much to learn from each other that I really want to invite that type of format for us. Tonight, I want to go back over one of the basic lessons that Karuna brought up, which is, again, the Four Noble Truths in Buddhism. So we've gone over that a couple of times. And I think last class we kind of went over noble truth number 1 being the truth of suffering. And that we don't have to call it that. Because until we are well practiced, we may not be in that middle way, and that suffering word might give us these icky, funny feelings. And so I think for me, one of the easiest ways to receive that truth is to hear it in the truth of not always being satisfied. It's easy to accept. And it's a little less dagger-like than the word suffer.
Yeah.
So we're not always satisfied. And I think that's a fair truth, right? I think that when we get to the point where we are satisfied all the time, that's called enlightenment. That's how major satisfaction is. I'm going to do a little slideshow and hope this will work. You guys can let me know if you can see the slides, okay? I don't know where presentation mode is within Google Slideshow. Here, can you see that?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to kind of go over Noble Truth number 2 more in depth tonight, okay? So Noble Truth number 1 was we're not always satisfied. There is suffering, the truth of suffering. Go cat. Okay. I want to make this thing go with clicks. All right. I'm actually not sure whether this is, I think this is called Pali. Is this Pali? Dukkha?
I think Pali is the language, yeah.
Dukkha.
It's not Sanskrit, I don't think.
So the truth of suffering summarized here is there's other ways of saying it. Problems happen. Things aren't perfect. We're not satisfied. What is key in this is before we can build off of this using this as a foundation, we have to word it in a way where we can say, okay, I agree with that idea. If I'm going to build off of it, I have to agree to that a little bit. Is there anybody who just totally objects with the idea that we're not always satisfied, or that things aren't perfect, or problems happen, and you want to talk about it a little bit?
No, I'm so glad that you explained it this way, because um, when my kids went to that running river school, they talked a lot about about suffering, because there was a lot of mindfulness work in there, and they did not explain it this way. And all the parents we all had a very hard time. Like, I'm not going to let my kids suffer, you
Right.
know? And it was so hard for me. All of us, we were like, that's just not going to happen. So I'm really glad that you're bringing this up again, because I've heard it before, but it's never resonated with me. I've always pushed it away. So this
Good.
makes much more sense to
Good.
me. And Karuna, when he was talking about it, I wrote a lot of notes on it. So because it was introduced to me incorrectly, I think.
There's kind of this idea that not to go too far off of the Buddhist way of teaching.
Mm-hmm.
In that, some people interpret that as,
Mm-hmm. Hi, Ruthie.
that's my son, Ruthie. In that, some people interpret it as if they cannot change the language in it either. And it's my opinion that language is a convention that we just try to understand each other using that convention, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the majority idea is to get the subject, get the point, rather than use that exact word.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
no, it makes so much more sense.
I'm so glad. Yeah, I'm always like, why would we want to study that if that's what it starts off with? And we can bring up awareness that our worldview really, really affects how we see, hear, touch, smell, and taste things. When we in the Western world hear the word suffering, like, I don't know about you, but there's like news flashes of some really not pretty things that immediately can come up for me. But if you're maybe from Nepal or Tibet and you hear that word, it's just this given of something we all experience every day, and it's a soft thing. So we have to take in consideration when we're speaking with anybody that even the words that we use to express our universal truth have to consider where that other person is coming from. Thank you.
That's true.
All right. So it's the first of 4 foundational teachings, and those are the 4 noble truths that they're referring to. It recognizes the existence of suffering or unsatisfactoriness. Okay. Unenlightenedness. Isn't that funny how just taking that 3 different ways, it recognizes the existence of suffering. One whole visual story comes up in our mind. Or synonym, unsatisfactoriness. Oh, totally different visual in our mind, right? So it believes that suffering is inherent and a universal aspect of human existence. Not being enlightened is a universal aspect of human existence. Pretty easier to accept, right? There are main forms now, as per the teachings from Buddhism. There are main forms in which suffering can manifest. And their lessons all build off of each other. So you go, okay, I agree, I'm not totally satisfied, and I see that other people aren't totally satisfied as well. All right, I can agree that these 2 out of the 3 seem like really main ones to me. And so I can start focusing on where am I least satisfied. And now I can start working on those sections to become more satisfied and more happy. So those, how do I go backwards? Oops.
That up arrow.
There we
Yeah.
go. So the main forms in which suffering can manifest are physical suffering. That's bodily pain, illness, and discomfort. Mental suffering. This one encompasses emotional distress, including sadness, anxiety, frustration, and many, many, many other things. And existential suffering. For me, when you start talking about existential suffering, that's where I get the most like, what? Huh? Right? And the explanation is the suffering that arises, the dissatisfaction that arises from the impermanent and ever-changing nature of life. And there are many, many teachings in Buddhism regarding the next 4 that I'm going to call out right now: birth, aging, sickness, and death. So those are 4 main sufferings in existential suffering that there are many, many classes around. How do we accept that we will age? How do we deal with and experience with less mental affliction, that we will become sick and that we will die? And then it's just bringing up for me this lesson that I always, it's been useful for me, which is expression helps stop depression. Okay, talking about it in a group, in a community like this, who holds each other in trying to come together with what we share in common. We express what we have inside of us about this, helps us not hold something inside of us until it causes our sickness. Maybe. Okay. Any questions around that? Or comments? Does that make sense, Aga?
Yeah.
Okay. So the noble truth number 2 is that the truth that suffering has a cause. It doesn't just show up and pop up and there it is, and we could do nothing about it. There is a cause. Now, for me, when they start putting the other languages rather than English into these lessons, I take it like, okay, if that word comes up later in something I'm studying, I'll know that that's what they're referring to, but it's actually a distraction for my ADD to hear another language, and now what am I supposed to do with it? So I like to just stick with the English for now. The truth that suffering has a cause is noble truth number 2. And the purpose of it is to address the origin or cause of suffering. How do we address where it comes from? Understanding the causes of a problem or suffering is essential to finding a way to end it. You guys agree with that?
Makes sense.
Make sense? So according to Buddhism, the primary cause of suffering is craving or attachment. Wanting for something. Really needing it a certain way. needing to have it, attain, hold it, keep it still and permanent with me. Can you guys come up with any examples of craving or attachment? I'm so attached, like my little necklace from Auntie Diane, pretty attached to this necklace, right? You're like, "Ah," and then I have to practice. If this ever falls off my neck one day, I'll have to be okay with it at that time, right? Craving or attachment, what's an example?
So one simple one is I prefer sunny days to cloudy days. So on cloudy days, I will often kind of look outside and say, I wish it were not cloudy. I am attached to the idea of it being sunny. It's not sunny right now, and I am not happy.
Mm-hmm. Good one.
And that's a tiny little sliver of suffering that I put myself in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That a mindset
Yeah.
supports,
Yeah.
right? Good one, Kev.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? Please share. Craving or attachment? What are your
I honestly feel like I'm attached to so many physical things. I can't really think of one, maybe except for my phone. I don't know.
Mhm.
Or maybe the feeling of like when I go somewhere, right? Like travel or something. I feel like I have to, take photos and post them and just let people know that I'm there uh and show them. Otherwise, it's like it's not otherwise it feels like it didn't happen. I don't know if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
It's
Exactly
like,
what you mean.
yeah, so this is hard. This is really hard to like enjoy whatever you do without, the need to share it with other people, I guess.
Great example, Aga.
Yeah.
Example. How about you, Stace?
I'm just thinking of little things that just got resolved in our house. And I was surprised how much angst I had. And it was like the main door, the lock was jiggly and we couldn't use it. And it just went on for weeks and weeks and weeks. And it just got resolved today. It was like, oh, like I'm surprised how it really upset me for so long, I guess.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
kind of crazy.
Isn't it interesting? Good example. Great example. When?
Well, I've been really self-reflecting on attachment to like being busy all the time. Like I have hard I I actually do have a hard time like just sitting and reading. Like I'm always, and it's probably all the things, but I love to move. I'm always wanting to move my body unless I'm like sleeping. And so just, now that the kids are gone, I'm really trying to pay. I had an idea of that before. I'm like, gosh, I wonder if I'm like kind of attached to chaos, like always wanting like a lot going on and
Mhm.
and I was like, I wonder what it's going to be like. I've been enjoying it, but I think I am attached to like my to-do list, I should say, being productive.
Mhm. I have a visual. Oh, I'll get it. Hold on 1 second. My transaction coordinator made this for us last year. It's called the to be list.
Oh,
I like that.
so good.
Isn't that cute?
That is
So
really
cute.
cute.
Can I see it? Oh,
I mean, and when we stop and we look at something like this, be present is doing, but it's doing while feeling, right?
Right.
Which is kind of a different thing than we know or have
Mhm.
known for a lot of it. So I'm gonna invite us, now that we kind of go, wow, all right, if the very beginning of these lessons toward feeling more happy are craving and attachment, maybe we should reflect as we have time and as we think about it and as we are aware, what is it that I'm attached to? What is it that I crave? We'll do a meditation on it later, okay? But
Mhm.
as you go through your home practice, I'm going to bring that up again and again because I did last time too, right? We can study, we can read, we can talk. When we actually sit with our own being and be, that is absolutely the hardest part and the most transformational, amazing part. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? All right. I went backwards. Where am I, Kev? Oh, clicking. All right. These are from, I don't have the exact resource on these ones. I can get it to us and put it in the comments later. But these are not made up by me. These are main types of cravings, okay? So the craving for sensual pleasures, I don't know about you, but my mind goes into the gutter immediately with that. And I want us to just come back out of the gutter a little bit.
Why is that the gutter?
Hey, why is it the gutter, Kevin?
I don't think it should be called that.
Well,
Nothing wrong with it.
But this is more in this aspect from our gross senses: sight, sound, taste, touch, smell. Senses being sensory, being sensual.
mhm.
Okay. And the craving for those sensual pleasures involves attachment, because we're attached to material possessions.
Mhm.
I always think about it this way. I'm always like, no, whatever I wear doesn't matter. I'm just me, right? Let's just imagine that for one day, somebody else dresses us. Okay. And they pick our glasses frames and they pick our hairstyle and they pick our clothes, and we go out in public the way somebody else creates us.
I would look much better. As long as it were unaccredited.
I mean, but right? If somebody puts us in something we would never, ever, ever buy ourselves or put on ourselves, can we still be ourselves? And what is that self anyway? Are we attached to this perceived visual self? Who are we if we looked different? And I'm going to bring up something. I'm going to see if I can find a picture of. I met somebody when I was in Italy with the McNamara's. They're professional surfers, friends of ours, and they were coming to visit Garrett to try to get positively motivated about life, because they were recently in a hang gliding accident where the hang glider landed on power lines. I don't have a picture. And the man's face was burnt off.
Wow.
And he was having a very hard time not being depressed. I guess it happened maybe a year ago, and he's undergone, his name's David. I got to meet him in person. He's an absolute angel, and it was really wonderful to meet him. And I was with Beryl, who is 9 years old, who had so many questions. And David said, it seems like Beryl's having a hard time being in my presence And I said, he is, David, and he has lots of questions. And David said, if you can encourage him to ask me, please have him come ask, because I would like that so much more than being so scared that someone can't approach me.
Mm,
Mm.
totally.
Mm.
And I asked Beryl, and Beryl couldn't. And out of David's generous heart, he said, if he has questions and you'd like to write them down, or he would like to write them down and send them to me, I would be happy to answer them.
Wow.
Right? Talk about what we're attached to. Look what we do, what we pay, right? To just not be too off of what we're learning to try to handle in the mirror. Right? Attachment is like constant. It's constant. So cravings involve attachment to material possessions, to sensual indulgence, massages, right? Treatments, sound baths, all those things. And the pursuit of pleasure as a means of happiness. Now I'm going to go back to pleasure was that chocolate cake. Remember? We have that first bite of chocolate cake. And now if you're coming in here gluten-free, you might not get to the third piece.
Oh no, it's a cake that we're talking.
Oh, it's a gluten-free piece of cake. Okay, he's in pleasure land with us right now. So that first piece bite is so good, right? We finished that first piece of cake and it's so good. This is, again, how we determine the difference between pleasure and happiness is we play it out. We repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. So then we get to that second piece of cake, same sitting, not so pleasurable. It's still pretty good, right? When we get to that third and fourth piece of cake, it's not even pleasurable anymore. It's just like, why did I like that first bite?
I disagree. For me, the pleasure came until about piece number 6.
6.
And kind of plateaus around 10.
So that's my test on, is this pleasure or is this happiness? On if I were to do it more and repetitively, would it continue to cause that same feeling or even cause the feeling to grow? Or would it cause the feeling to not necessarily stay? Alcohol is a great example, right? One beer, woo, amazing, or whatever it is, right? The next drink, wow, I'm so relaxed. When I drank, craving would kick in at that person. Like at that point, oh, I so want that third one now. If I'm going to get this feeling, right? And thank God I would puke on the third one, so I don't have to stop there. Or throw up or regurgitate, sorry. But that was kind of a blessing for me, right? There's not a big tolerance there, but if we keep doing it, we realize maybe that's not what causes happiness. That's the difference. So again, pleasure is called the near enemy of happiness. It seems like we are getting happy by it. But when we play it out, we get more wisdom around that idea. More cravings. There's a craving for existence itself, right? Pretty much. And we're gonna get into this more. I'm just gonna follow these. So there's a desire for continued existence, and there's attachment. These words are kind of interchangeable, right? To one's sense of self. I want to put sense of self because as per Buddhism, that self does exist. And it's our question of how does it exist? That's what Karuna was coming up with his nature of reality, lessons with it. How does that self exist? Okay. Remember that that's the question that people spend lifetimes trying to answer. We just keep contemplating it, keep contemplating it. Clinging to the idea of an enduring and unchanging self or an identity, even though they are always changing and they are impermanent. I'm going to do a quick meditation with us right now. This is one that Karuna did that Lama Zopa started with him. See if you can kind of come still, and you can look down with your eyes a little bit open or eyes closed really quickly. And think of yourself as you were when you were 5. And ask yourself, are you still that person now? Or was it an impermanent self at 5 that has constantly changed? And think of yourself at 10. Was the 10-year-old the same as the 5-year-old? And is that 10-year-old the same as who you are now? Depending on how old you are, imagine yourself now at 20. And just ask yourself, is that 20-year-old the same person as the 10-year-old was? Or as the 5-year-old was? And how about at 30 or 40 or 50? Or however you all are old right now in this moment? Is this person the same as when it was 20 or 10 or 5? And now think of this person in this moment. Is it the same as the one even just a few moments ago when you considered who that person was? And then you can come back. Did anybody come up with a non-changing permanent self in that? Kind of interesting perspective, no?
I definitely felt changes, but what was kind of interesting is I feel like I'm more like my 5-year, like I feel like I'm knowing I feel like you're like when you're young, when I was younger, maybe you're just so much freer and you don't have as many uh societal things or whatever to do or to be or whatever. So it was interesting, like my 30s, I was like, oh, that's not really me. That's not really, I mean, it was me, but like I feel more like my 5-year-old self now than like maybe I don't know if I'm explaining myself well.
Sure.
I feel like I'm much more comfortable with just being me now, where in my late 20s, 30s, kind of got lost. I feel like I got lost a little, like in what my true self is, I guess.
Authentic to yourself, right?
Yeah,
Like that article I sent you this morning, right?
I know. So good.
I just talked about the number one complaint when people are on their deathbeds is not living their life to their authenticity. Another way of putting that would be bringing the energy they were brought to this world, to the world, masking it with something else. Number one, regret. Right? And then we talk about that and we go immediate attachment to this ego self again, to this identity. What is my energy that I came here to do in this world?
Oh,
So it's,
never escapes.
it's constantly, if you guys remember from last week when we were talking about being on that canoe in the middle of the stream where you're in between rigidity and chaos, right? That's kind of like attachment and aversion is where we're trying to like, what am I attached to? What am I attached to? And when I first started learning this, and you learn that craving is one of the major reasons for not being happy, you're like, well, then am I allowed to want to be in this class? And the reflection back from people like Karuna was, it's what we crave for. It's how strongly we crave for it that makes it cause happiness or makes it cause suffering. Right? We can want for not so great things super, super badly. And we just have to ask ourselves and be aware, is this causing suffering? Is this causing happiness? More types of craving. There is a craving to non-existence. There are plenty of people who want to take this life with the intention of easing suffering. I like the idea in Buddhism that says this life isn't our only one. And if we take this life, this is absolutely my opinion now, you guys. If we take this life and we leave behind such suffering from those who loved us, we may not be blessed with another human life for eons. And there's a whole meditation where you go into, would I want to be a turtle instead? No. Would I want to be a snake? Would I want to be a mosquito? Would I even want to be a dog? Now, Kevin,
I want to be a dog.
Kevin wants to be an American dog.
In a middle class American family that doesn't travel.
Totally. I'm right there with you.
Mm-hmm.
I always say, my next life, I want to come back as Wesley. That's all there is to it.
But I say that while our dog Cheeto, if he just can't hold it and we're not home, he gets in trouble. If he actually just wants to go out for a run, he's totally dependent on somebody else to do it. There's so much that he's limited by. This human life is so, so unbelievably precious that waking up in the morning and just being grateful that we're human and we have the potential to learn and develop and experience and exchange and help is so precious. So these forms of craving and attachment are seen as the root causes of suffering because they lead to grasping. They lead to clinging. I try not to have like a beverage routine in the morning. I try to wake up and say, I like something warm. How about today I have tea? And on another day, how about I have my little mushroom coffee today? And how about I have a decaf mocha on another day, right? And how about I have something cold? How about I have nothing at all? In an attempt to try to not get attached to a routine. And we can tell our level of attachment by how angsty we get when we don't get it. right? All right, here's our summary of noble truth number. Move this out of here. What we think brings happiness actually causes suffering when we examine it with wisdom. When we're wise about it, we play it out. We consider who it affects. We can consider how it affects us mentally. This is our Western worldview taught to us. If we get that fancy car, we'll be happy. If we live in a house that we can brag about and everybody can come to, we'll be happy. If we get an education from a specific university, we'll be happy. And then there we come right back to where everybody else is again with the truth of suffering, even after we get all those things. So that happiness might not lie outside of us. It might be in doing that really hard work of sitting with ourselves and finding our triggers and seeing if we can bring them closer to the middle of the stream. And when it comes up later on, we don't react so hard or cause harm. Understanding causes for suffering helps individuals recognize the sources of suffering. By identifying and addressing underlying causes, individuals can work towards reducing, and in Buddhism, eliminating craving and attachment. I love it when they just give you these goals that seem like they're way beyond anything we could ever imagine, right? Because then we can go towards that. We don't have that limiting belief, that word that phrase we hear a lot, that just limits us from what we can actually do. And when Karuna says, he believes Lama Zopa actually may have become enlightened in this lifetime. And then I got to feel that feeling too. You actually start thinking they might not be crazy by saying you can eliminate craving. Or talk about attachment. Lama Zopa got in an accident in a river and he fell in the river and he was going to drown and he was floating down the river with his head bobbing up and down this river, and they got him out. And as he was reflecting on it, he was saying, it was so interesting how the head would just kind of keep itself up. The head. Not my head. Very interesting. So here's the great news. Suffering can end. That's noble truth number 3. And there is a path to reducing craving and attachment. That's noble truth number 4. And then we can get into that path as well. All right, let me see if I can stop that share. And I'm going to take us on the hardest part now. Okay, Wen, you were saying?
I was just saying that what I've been thinking about a lot with the attachment of ourselves and what we think of ourselves and how we perceive ourselves. I feel like I also do that with other people. So if somebody was a certain way, other people can change too. Like the way that they were 20 years ago might not be the way that they are now. And, I find that we do that mainly in our family, is not necessarily our family, but like family structures, because you've known people for so long, or like friends you've known for so long, like in our head, I have like, a way that Bruce is and a way that Mark is. Well, you know what? Honestly, I don't know if I've really spent time with them in the last, actually know how they are now. I
Like
just have
20
an
years.
idea of, yeah. I mean, I see them on holidays, but do I really know what they're like now?
Right.
And that's been kind of hitting me lately.
Yeah. I had one of my son Reefy's friends look at him, and now he's 2 inches taller than I am and very thin. And they looked at him, and he was my little chunky monkey before, and they said, I miss him looking like a teddy bear. And that was his friend. That was his friend's little brother. Right? You're like, I kind of do. I get it. Right? That's a great point, when we are attached to other people as well. And as we make our own changes of who we would rather be than who we are behaving like and acting like and what we're attached to now, it will become a big question of how will people respond to me if I do that? I better keep being who they know.
Totally.
It's really hard to transition into something without being like, I'm going to intend on doing something differently. And I don't know where it's going to take me, but I need to go. I need to try, It's amazing. All right. So we're going to get super settled. We're going to do a meditative posture to start off with. And this is a 7-point posture. And we'll do either legs crossed. We'll start with legs. Number 1, legs. And you guys can have this later. You don't have to take notes. I can give them to you. Okay. Crossed in the lotus position, or sitting comfortably, or feet flat on the floor. Next is hands. So resting on the lap. The concentration mudra is, I'm going to do it backwards. No, I think it does. It flips it for me. Your left hand with your right hand on top of it, and then your thumbs touching is a concentration mudra, if you want to try that. You don't typically see Tibetan Buddhists meditating with their hands out on their knees or their palms up in the air stretched. It's more of a contained hand posture. Your back straight to have energy free flowing. Your shoulders relaxed and slightly back. And your head tilted slightly forward and down, so you're kind of tucking your chin. This helps to not fall asleep. Your eyes either opened slightly, gazing downward along the line of your nose. Sometimes we do that to keep awake if we want to, or closed eyes. And with our mouth, which is number 7, lips and teeth are closed with the tongue resting against your upper palate. And now set your motivation. What would you like to get out of this meditation right now? What is your why for right now? And I invite you to set a motivation for yourself and an altruistic motivation for others. Now take a few deep, slow breaths and slow yourself down. See if you can give yourself permission just for the next few minutes to really, really be here now. Let go of any other thoughts for now and really arrive in this moment. Try to follow your breath. See if you can let your breath lead you, where you're not trying to control it or manipulate it in some way. You're just observing what it's doing. No judgment at all. Just noticing you're the observer. As you feel yourself getting nice and settled right where you are, see if you can feel as if all the little grains of sand in your body are just settling into this, beach bag or bean chair or whatever we call it, and just nice and still right where you are, nice and stable and settled and grounded. If something's coming up to distract you, you can label it. Planning, planning, and then come right back to this moment. Breathing. And take a moment now, bring to mind the time in the past couple of days when you found yourself really craving something, wanting something, or someone. Maybe you wanted someone to do something. Maybe you wanted to buy something. Choose something that you can remember you felt a strong desire for. How did your body feel when experiencing this strong desire? See if you can be aware of how it affected your body. Is there an openness? Or is there a clenched feeling around it? Would spaciousness be something you would describe that feeling with? Is there a tightness maybe? Would an ease describe it? See if you can remember what your thoughts were like when you were experiencing this want, this craving, this desire. Would you think that those thoughts could be considered more other serving or self-serving? what was the position or consideration for other beings' hearts during this moment of craving or desire? Now, let's say that you got what you wanted. Did it cause happiness? Was the happiness lasting if it did? And what might have been different if the desire were a little softer than it was? Kind of wanted it, or that whatever the situation you needed and desired could be okay without it, and really wanted it. And before you come down on yourself at all, notice your own awareness around that desire or that craving now. And invite yourself to really recognize how your awareness is developing. And then just ask yourself, if I were more clearly aware in the moment, would I have more control over my choices? And the outcomes. Take a minute to take 3 nice, big, slow breaths now. You can even say, may I breathe everything in that I need, and may I exhale everything that I don't need out. May my inhale give me everything I need, and may my exhale get rid of what I don't. When you're ready, we'll come back together. Ding! You guys okay? Would anyone like to reflect on how that was, trying to pay attention to a little craving and attachment? Og, are you still awake?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I fell asleep.
Yeah.
I've been on and off.
Yeah, I don't blame you. We're just going to reflect now and then do our closing, but I want to just see how that experience was for anybody if you'd like to share. Was there something that was brought to awareness that you didn't know was there?
Denise,
Mm-hmm.
I am thinking about the whole concept of what is craving and what is just happiness, what brings joy and what is unhealthy. And so is that constantly something you've been thinking about in your learnings?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it's kind of a fine line, right?
The fine line, and who am I serving is my big question. You know, are these thoughts serving me? If they're serving me, will they help me serve somebody else? If that pattern happens, will it cause joy for not just me? You know, and then you're in a situation and you're feeling it and you're experiencing it and you're also the observer. And it's so much easier to see others clearly, it seems. Might be a joke we tell ourselves. Right?
That's a good one. Thank you.
When I was heading to work today, I was just craving that it was 6 o'clock and we were getting together. Then I had to purposely say, let go of that. That's not happening right now. What can make this moment a good moment, a purposeful moment, a meaningful moment, a virtuous moment? Can I be present? The present moment is a great, great comeback from craving and attachment. Just what's here right now. We'll go into the immeasurables also. Metta being one of them, wishing well for others. Generosity is one of them. Kindness is one. Loving kindness is metta, right? So when we find ourselves, this is where we get to the point where I'll see if I can bring in the timeline of an emotional episode. It's very interesting. It's like trigger and feeling, pause, reaction or response. That's that Viktor Frankl saying, where in between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space, there is choice. And then we just have to be aware that something stimulated us, create the space, see a choice, take the wiser choice of the 2 or 3 or 4. When do you want to share?
I didn't have a lot to, I mean, it was very helpful. I didn't have a lot to add. I was trying to think this weekend was a big release for me of trying to let go of a lot. So, and I guess I kept going back to like, okay, why did I have this craving? And this is going to sound really stupid, but
No judgment,
big
no
craving,
judgment.
no judgment. I know, but the thing that came to mind is I was like, I'm really craving fried chicken. And I was like, why am I craving
Your fried
chicken?
chicken, I crave.
Good fried chicken. But I realized when I think about like, if I think about where that craving is coming from, what am I trying to get from that craving? And I really felt like I needed to feel grounded. I needed to feel like home. I wanted all those feelings of just like, that's what I comfort, and that's where I was trying to go with that craving. Because I had the fried chicken. It was really good.
There's so much awareness in that. What did you say, Len?
I said, and we had the fried chicken and it was really good. But
right? And
I was trying to think like, why that,
Mm-hmm. Lama Yeshe actually went to Disneyland and played on the beach and did lots of things where you're like, that's not what a typical Lama does, right? A Tibetan Lama. And then he would teach that we can do things that are pleasurable as long as we don't get too attached to them. We're not here to suffer on purpose and cause ourselves to take away pleasures. We just have to be aware of how attached to those pleasures we get to make sure we're not causing ourselves or others harm.
Okay.
Does craving happiness lead to suffering?
Turn on the light.
It could and it couldn't.
Mhm.
Right? Did you hear that question?
Good one.
Right? So it's the wisdom around it in your behaviors towards what you will do to satisfy yourself to get that happiness. Right? So craving is wanting, kind of becomes wanting, desiring, craving, needing, addicted to, can't be happy without, right? And so we slowly go into, and that's why the awareness part becomes more than what feels like. That word is so cliche in my mind. Oh, awareness practice, right? But when we practice it and then we do become more aware, then we can check ourselves like, am I enjoying this piece of mixed berry pie that some wonderful person brought for me? And can I enjoy it enough to share it? There are these stories that talk about a monk who's sitting at the end of a table, and it's like there's only a certain amount of food that's being shared amongst all the monks, and he's like telling, in his mind, he's saying to all the other monks, please don't eat it, just let it come down in a really big bowl, please don't eat it, right? And he purposely does not take any to stop that strong desire tendency in his own mind. Like the next time it can come around and he can wish that other people also get to enjoy it with, and he gets to enjoy it too, rather than they suffer for him not to.
What if every monk thinks the same way? Then the food will never get eaten.
These are great questions, right? We just keep going. There's a super great exercise on desire where you have one piece of bread and you're the only two people left on earth. And how do you handle that piece of bread? It's like, there are so many different answers that come up around that exercise. It's really fun and interesting, right? So it's levels of desire. It's not just what we desire. It's what's our level. What are we willing to harm for it? Am I willing to lie to somebody to get what I want? Am I willing? And then when we understand that, not telling the truth causes a lot of mental pollution and delusional thought. And now we're thinking about did I tell that person? What about that? And what about, then we start saying, am I willing to cause all of that to my own mind for this thing that I'm lying about? And then we start having better, like a choice that doesn't cause so much chaos in our mind. And now we start to clear our mind. I was listening to Eckhart Tolle today, who was saying there comes a point beyond thinking where you can be without thought. And it's a different dimension. And so we just imagine all the judgment, all the desire, all the attachment, all the understanding, all the clear. And truly we just be. There's no after the word be, it just stops at be. And maybe we don't know that at all right now. But we can imagine, wow, should we try for that? Okay, give me a second, I'll close. All right. Thank you very much for practicing with me and us together tonight as this beautiful community does. I would like to ask for forgiveness for anything that brought up something that was confusing or didn't sound right or caused something that was uncomfortable to you. if you feel like you added anything that was inappropriate, uncomfortable, or something that you're feeling like you might not have done, please forgive yourself and let it go entirely right now. Just clean slate it. May the merit that we have earned together, practicing this beautiful understanding of ourself and others, benefit all sentient beings so that every being can be more happy. And may all wars everywhere end. Wars with ourselves, with others, with neighbors, with countries, in any way whatsoever. May wars be replaced with understanding and love. Thank you so much for practicing with us again together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you as always.